It is 8:58 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. It is, the 14th of August, 2025, and this is episode 1147 of Bitcoin. And yeah, I'm really glad that I didn't do a Bitcoin news show yesterday, because I would have been all kinds of like, woohoo, look at that, yay. And we're right back to where we started. It's okay. We've been here before, except I definitely am going to be highlighting the absolute chicanery committed by Scott Bessent, and specifically the timing of his announcement that the United States was not going to be buying any Bitcoin. That is top of news today. But also the PPI numbers came in, and that's where the timing of this entire thing for me is really suspect. I'm just going with straight up market manipulation at this point, because I can't find any other phrase that fits it as well. Google shocked everybody yesterday as well with some news about Bitcoin wallets being ejected from the Google Play Store. There's some updating on that we need to talk about. And then Block has made the announcement that their new mining ASIC, and honestly, it's a whole rig. It's a new kind of mining infrastructure, and we're going to talk about its design and what they've been doing over there at Block. It looks like they may have actually committed a game changer, which I honestly did not expect that. I kind of didn't. I kind of thought that, if anything, they would come up with something that maybe rivaled something out of Bitmain, but I didn't expect this, and I'm really happy about it, by the way. Turkey, BTC Turk, Turkey's oldest exchange, has some problems. And then Kazakhstan. Well, Kazakhstan is Kazakhstan, and they're doing what Kazakhstan does. Can we believe the news out of Kazakhstan? I don't know, man. We'll get into it, but I can probably believe the bullshit that's coming out of Wisconsin and the licensing for Bitcoin ATMs. That's probably correct. I might mention something about Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin taking Bitcoin, but probably not a whole lot of it. And then we will have our words of warning, which I try to do at the end of every show. This one is pretty sinister, honestly. So let's buckle up. Here we go. Bitcoin drops below $119,000 after U.S. Treasury Secretary rules out new BTC buys. This is Zoltan Vardai, Cointelegraph. This morning, Scott Bessent went on Fox Business and laid it all out. Laid out the truth. It's what we suspected, but we got confirmation now that Bitcoin, we watched Bitcoin drop below a key support level Thursday morning after U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the government has no plans to make any additional Bitcoin purchases for its strategic reserve and separate digital asset stockpile. Then Bitcoin fell below 120,000. That's the psychological support level, and then traded at 118,730 at the time of writing. And right now we are hovering right around 118,000. Anyway, it hit an all-time high yesterday of 124,457. The decline followed Bessent's comments in an interview with Fox Business, where he confirmed that the government would not buy any more Bitcoin. Quote, "We've also started to get into the 21st century, a Bitcoin reserve." I got to pause. I don't understand the sentence. We've also started to get into the 21st century, comma, a Bitcoin reserve. What is that? I don't even know what Scott's trying to say here, but he goes on and says, we're not going to be buying that Bitcoin in parentheses, but we are going to use confiscated assets and continue to build that up. Oh, so I'm looking forward to more confiscation of Bitcoin. So U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order on March 6th. If you were living under a rock, then hallelujah, here now you know. Establishing both a strategic Bitcoin reserve and what's called a separate digital asset stockpile, both of which would initially use cryptocurrency forfeited in government criminal cases. In March, Bessent advocated for a strategic shift in the U.S. approach to its Bitcoin reserve, telling CNBC and signaling at the White House Crypto Summit that the government should stop selling seized Bitcoin and bring it onshore using established regulatory frameworks. He said that after victims of financial misconduct are compensated, any remaining seized coin would be added to a national Bitcoin reserve, putting the U.S. in a position to lead in global crypto. Then in April, Bo Hines, who at the time was part of the President's Council of Advisors for Digital Assets, said the administration was exploring funding options for Bitcoin acquisitions, including tariff revenue and the revaluation of the Treasury's gold certificates. Thursday's drop came just hours after Bitcoin briefly overtook Google's $2.4 trillion market cap to become the fifth largest global asset before optimism faded on Treasury's stance. In a silver lining to the sentiment dampening statement, they say the Bessent did confirm that the U.S. does not plan to sell any of its existing Bitcoin holdings. Oh, I'm thrilled. Quote, "We're going to stop selling. I believe that the Bitcoin reserve at today's prices is somewhere between $15 and $20 billion, end quote. Bessent's comments echo White House AI and crypto czar David Sachs, who said a Bitcoin reserve would be a digital Fort Knox for the cryptocurrency, and the U.S. wouldn't sell any Bitcoin to put in the reserve. Wouldn't sell any Bitcoin. Oh, sorry. And the U.S. would not sell any Bitcoin that it already put in the reserve. Quote, "It will be kept as a store of value," Sachs said in a March 7th X post. Meanwhile, the ballooning U.S. national debt may spur more investors to look into Bitcoin's financial properties as a store of value against persistent inflation, because the U.S. national debt surpassed $37 trillion for the first time yesterday, Wednesday, fueling expectations of a Bitcoin rally to new all-time highs, driven by money supply growth expectations as the government looks to service the swelling debt and stimulate economic spending. Well, good luck on all of that, because this whole Scott Bessent thing on Fox Business and the surpassing of the $37 trillion, these are not the only drivers that caused the sell-off this morning, because the PPI numbers dropped. That's the Producer Price Index. This is out of CoinDesk, and it's written by James Van Straten. Inflation concerns were reignited during morning hours in the United States on Thursday, sending risk assets, crypto among them, sharply lower. The July Producer Price Index rose 0.9%, blowing past estimates for 0.2% and 0.0% in June. On a year-over-year basis, PPI was higher by 3.3% versus forecast for 2.5% and June's 2.4%. Core PPI, which of course excludes, food and energy, also surged 0.9% in July, far exceeding the 0.2% expected and the 0.0% expected in June. This is basically they're reiterating what they've already said. So I'm moving on. Already well off of a record high hit overnight above 124,000. Bitcoin tumbled below 119,000 on the news. Ether plunged nearly 4% to $4,550. Other recently red-hot altcoins like Solana and XRP were similarly struck. Well, everything follows Bitcoin. I don't know why they keep separating this shit out, but one of these days maybe they'll figure it all out. Who knows? But fresh labor market data provided absolutely 0% relief, with initial jobless claims for this week ending August 9th at 224,000, slightly below the 228,000 expected, and continuing claims holding at 1.95 million. The still tight labor market, combined with the strong PPI readings, reinforce the view that the Fed may keep interest rates elevated for longer to tame inflation. According to CME FedWatch, the previous 100% chance for a September rate cut slipped to 96% in the wake of fresh data. In traditional markets, U.S. stock index futures have slipped 0.5%. The dollar is gaining ground, and the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield moved higher by 5 basis points to 4.25%. What they're not mentioning here is that bond sales for United States Treasuries started really ramping up after the PPI numbers came in. So you got Scott Bessent going on Fox Business at telling everybody that they're not going to do what they said they were going to do, and they're not going to buy more Bitcoin, at the same time that the PPI numbers were being digested that had already thrown treasury markets into a tizzy, because Germany and Europe and anybody else who holds U.S. treasuries started selling those son bitches. And then what happens with the principal value of the bond? Well, it gets pushed down. And what happens to equilibrate that, because nature just abhors a vacuum? The coupon rate on those treasuries has to go up. They do not have inflation under control. They do not have the bond yield under control. I have got to say it, and nobody wants to hear it. I'm actually thinking Jerome Powell knows what the hell he's doing. He doesn't have anywhere close to the amount of control that he wishes he had over the yield curves. But in this particular environment, I'm not sure if sending the interest rates on the Fed overnight down would be a very good idea. And I think that that's one of the reasons why Jerome is like, nope. I'm not going to do it. You can call me names. You can berate me in front of the press. You can make a meme out of me with hard hats looking at pieces of paper and pointing at them like I'm a small child, but it's not going to matter. I'm not budging, because none of this shit is fixed. It's so far from fixed that I'm just not going to do anything. In fact, there's always the possibility that rates increase. Who knows? I don't know that for sure. And my gut tells me no, that's not on the table. But I do not expect any rate cuts. People are thinking that there was going to be a rate cut in September. That's gone. All right. That's not going to happen. So what does it mean for Bitcoin? It means sideways chop. Month, 2 months, 3 months. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. It's just going to go sideways for at least a couple of days, couple of weeks. When we start stretching out into whether or not it goes a couple of months, well, for that one, we'll just have to see. But we need to move on to Google, who has confirmed non-custodial wallets are exempt from new crypto app rules on the Play Store. Now, when the news first broke, everybody thought that Google was ejecting all wallets, especially non-custodial wallets, from the Play Store. This doesn't seem to be the case, but we're going to find out more from Liz Napolitano, writing for Decrypt. Google said that it will update its Play Store policy for software wallets this fall, sparking initial concerns among digital asset users that the changes could sideline self-custodial wallets on Android devices. Google Play will require custodial digital wallet apps like those from exchanges to hold jurisdiction-specific licenses, including MiCA authorization in the EU, FCA authorization in the UK, and FinCEN registration in the United States, before distribution in those markets with transitional agreements in France and Germany. But crypto holders needn't sound the alarm, not just yet anyway. According to the tech giant, which referred Decrypt to its help center after being contacted. Oh my God. So Google says, just look at our help page when a news outlet calls and asks them questions. I swear customer service has just really gone downhill. Anyway, non-custodial wallets are out of scope of the cryptocurrency exchange and software wallets policy, the Help Center reads. The platform will begin enforcing its country-specific requirements on October the 29th, according to a blog post from the company. Google's clarifying comments come after crypto Twitter railed against the planned policy changes on Wednesday. At the heart of the social media backlash were concerns that the guidelines might apply to self-custodial wallet applications on Android devices, which are largely not registered with regulators in their respective jurisdictions of operation. The Android operating system runs on more than 70% of all mobile phones. I did not realize it was that high. Holy shit. Damn. This is according to a 2025 report from Poland-based software solution firm Neontry, whatever. However, Jacob Whitman, general counsel at the Plasma Foundation, dismissed concerns over the digital content platform's changes, calling them a big nothing burger. Quote, the Google Play Wallet, quote, ban is a giant nothing burger in many ways, Whitman said Wednesday in a social media post on X. Still, the policy change, quote, does show that tech giants control distribution and we are still at their whim, he said. So that's really the takeaway. For all the people that are breathing a sigh of relief, oh, okay, so my self-custodial wallet on my Android phone, that's fine. So now I don't have to worry. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. There's essentially two places in the world that the majority of mobile phone and smartphone users get their applications from. One is Apple Store and the other is the Google Play Store. That's just the way it is. Yes, there are other ways that you can get stuff on your phone, but what we do not have is a way for Johnny on the street who doesn't know dick about sideloading an application or doesn't really want to find out what a progressive web app and how is and how to get one going on your phone, which isn't hard, but it's for a lot of people what we consider absolutely nothing in the way of having to do shit, like having to put in like real work. They don't view it that way. If you at this point, if you give people more than like 4 steps of instructions to get whatever X done, it's like they just lose interest. They're like, whatever, dude, I don't care. They're beat down. That's what happens in societies like this. The modern world society right now, and it doesn't matter if you're in Turkey or the United States or Brazil or Australia, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. When you get down to the great guts and feathers of it, it's all about screwing up the minds of the citizenry so that they're easier to control. However you do that from your cultural standpoint, in my case, I don't care because the effects are all the same. You just keep screwing with people's heads for decades, and they finally get so mentally exhausted that they don't want to even think about how they could actually be sovereign. So that's what we don't have. We don't have a phone manufacturer that is big, that is a sovereign, that is manufacturing something that would be akin to a sovereign phone. Yeah, do they exist? Yeah, there's like I think there's something called Upphone. There's a couple of other people that do it, but they're not big. They're not big. And that's what it's a huge problem. None of us really know how to market very well because all the people that do are getting paid oodles of cash by people like Google marketing and Apple marketing and all the big boys. This is one of the reasons why you can't break into the market. It's not a regulatory moat, ladies and gentlemen. It's a psychological moat. They know how to make advertising. They know how to do marketing. They know how to grab attention of millions of people. And the people that know how to do that get paid $250,000. They're not going to do it for like a little startup phone company that tries to have sovereign apps. What I envision is a phone company that nobody knows who produces the phone. and they're manufactured by like every pot, like Foxconn and any other electronics giant that you can find. So that you can rotate your orders around. Nobody really, nobody's got a real address, and it would be better clearly if the physical manufacturer of such phones was also just purely sovereign and not dependent on asking for a contract from Foxconn. And then tie that in with an app store where nobody knows who the developers are because they're all anonymous, and they're all having fun staying poor because they can't get paid for their work, and they're good with that. They're saying, at this point, if we don't do this, we're going to lose everything. And then because I was not able to figure out how to have fun staying poor, my children will be miserable, and my children's children will still be miserable, and nothing will ever fucking change. The takeaway from this story is that self-custody wallets are next. They just are. And they're going to be booted out of the Apple Store, and they're going to be booted out of Google Play. You just wait. And if it was already on your phone, you'd probably kiss it goodbye. Maybe the side loading on an Android would work. For those of you who use graphene, I've never used graphene, so I don't know exactly how it works. I would like to simply be told, if you've got graphene on your Android phone, then you don't have anything to worry about. That's really what I want to hear. But even then, the people that make graphene, we know who they are, and the government knows where they live. It just goes on and on and on. I don't know how to fix it. I really don't. I mean, I can say what I'm actually thinking in my head, but it probably would not be a good idea for me to actually say. So I'm not going to, which puts me squarely in the camp of the people that aren't doing anything about it, simply because I don't know what to do. I just don't. It makes me sad, but I have to admit, I don't know what to do. If you do, then let me know. Now, on to something brighter. Sunshine in a jar from GreatGhee at GreatGhee.com. That's GreatGhee, Ghee is how you spell ghee. It's at GreatGhee.com. It's the best animal fat to buy with the hardest money on earth. So, this person makes ghee. What is it? Ghee, or clarified butter, is made by simmering butter to remove water, milk solids, and impurities, leaving behind a golden lactose-free oil with a nutty flavor and high smoke point. Around 485 degrees Fahrenheit is how hot you can get ghee before it starts to smoke, which means that you've kind of screwed it up. So don't get it to 480 or 485 degrees Fahrenheit. Shoot for something lower, like 450, which is, if you're frying something, that'll work, okay? Anyway, unlike regular butter, ghee is shelf stable, which means you can put it on a shelf. It doesn't have to be refrigerated. It's versatile for cooking, baking, and even skincare. It's a staple in Indian food, as I say all the time, and you can get your ghee at GreatGhee.com. That's GreatGhee.com. And, by the way, if you use... Well, actually, I just need you to put BitcoinAnd in the order comment section so that GreatGhee understands that if you buy his product, that you heard about it from the BitcoinAnd show, and that way GreatGhee in the value for value advertising model can make a decision as to whether or not GreatGhee found the sale useful and valuable, and will hopefully catch me on the other side with some Satoshis. Now, on to block mining. This is actually rather kind of exciting. I usually don't get excited about new mining rigs, but I'm excited about this one. Block unveils Proto Rig and Proto Fleet, marking a new era in Bitcoin mining. And this is out of businesswire.com. Let's see, is there an author? I don't think there's an author on this one. Nope, there is not an author. Block Incorporated today unveiled Proto Rig, a first of its kind modular Bitcoin mining system, and Proto Fleet, a free and open source fleet management software. The announcement made during an event held at Proto Customer Core Scientific's facility in Dalton, Georgia, where Proto rigs and mining as part of their fleet represents a significant step towards decentralizing Bitcoin mining hardware, opening access to more builders, and increasing network resiliency. These mark the first two end-to-end releases by Proto, Block's suite of Bitcoin mining products and services, following its initial chip sale to Core Scientific. Moving away from disposable hardware models. Hold on for a second. I want to make sure that okay, here we go. Moving away from disposable hardware models, Proto-Rig is designed to be infrastructure, a paradigm shift that solves many existing pain points for miners and signals the company's long-term commitment to the industry. Proto-Rig's modular design lets operators upgrade individual hash boards without replacing entire units, transforming what has historically been a 3 to 5 year disposable asset into a 10-year infrastructure investment, reducing costs by 15 to 20% each upgrade cycle. It also allows for easy, in-place, tool-free repair, turning a process that can take hours, days, or weeks into one that takes seconds, saving miners valuable time and resources. Quote, mining hardware hasn't really changed in years, said Thomas Templeton, hardware lead at Block. Machines break often. They're hard to repair, expensive, and time-consuming to upgrade, and don't make the most efficient use of power or space. With Rig, we set out to change all of that and contribute to hardware decentralization in the process. With unmatched power density and maximum miner uptime, Proto-Rig delivers 1.5 times the power per foot of rack space compared to traditional mining hardware, and designed to be compatible with modern and legacy infrastructure. Proto-Rig gives mining operators the power to maximize efficiency in their existing facilities without requiring expensive retrofitting, addressing long-standing challenges in power utilization and lifecycle management. Now, alongside Proto-Rig, Block also announced something called Proto-Fleet, comprehensive open-source fleet management software that brings together power scaling, monitoring, diagnostics, and maintenance tools in a single intuitive platform. Quote, mining hasn't really caught up with advances in software more broadly, said Templeton. Quote, we saw an opportunity to make mining software something modern that improves operational efficiency instead of unnecessarily complicating things, end quote. Proto-Fleet brings together many functionalities that have historically required their own individual pieces of software to manage, helping miners streamline operations, maximize uptime, and minimize time spent troubleshooting. A big part of Proto's effort to decentralize mining, Proto-Fleet will be available for anyone to use at no cost, giving mining operators of all sizes access to powerful fleet management software. All of these advancements together, on-rack, tool-free repairability, high-quality components, swappable hash boards, and backwards compatibility, means more uptime across installs, repairs, upgrades, and ultimately the life of the machine. The reveal of both products builds on Block's long track record of building transformational technology and rounds out the company's broader commitment to Bitcoin across Square, Cash App, BitKey, and Spiral. For more information about Proto-Rig and Proto-Fleet, visit proto.xyz. That's proto.xyz. Swappable hash boards is the takeaway here. That and the fact that the energy density per square foot increase is going to be huge. 1.5 times the amount of efficiency on a per foot rack space is freaking huge. Right? So that's it. And this is an American company. I can rah America, but that's not really it. I'm just tired of all the innovation always ever coming out of China. And now this is not the case. Thankfully, Block seems to have cracked a big nut. And that swappable hashboard issue, you don't have to throw the power supply away. You don't have to throw the chassis away. You can keep the chassis just right in the rack and just open the box itself and replace hash boards. That is amazing because as it is right now, you basically throw the whole unit away after between 3 and 5 years. There's a lot of electronic waste there. And I don't look at electronic waste as something that, oh my God, we're all going to die because climate change. That's not it. I just like all of those transformers, all that copper, all those magnets. And I'm just talking about the power supply part of the equation here for each one of these boxes. Then there's all the chips, there's the hash, the fans. They don't even harvest the fans. They just throw the whole damn rig away. This is different. This is a almost a step function change in the way Bitcoin mining is going to be done. I'm really excited to see where this one goes. And we'll have to see if Bitmain follows suit and says, shit, now we're going to have to do the thing and work and be innovative. So we'll see if they can handle it. Let's run the numbers. Futures and commodities. West Texas Intermediate oil is up almost 2%, but it's still at $63.85 a barrel. So there was quite the tumble that oil had yesterday while I was doing the show about Cathedral. Anyway, Brent North Sea is up 1.7% to 66.77. Natural gas up a half to $2.84 per thousand cubic feet. And gasoline is up 1.8% to $2.10 a gallon. Shiny metal rocks are having a bad day. Gold is down almost a full point, making Peter Schiff cry at 33.77 and 4 dimes. Silver is down 1.7%, but platinum is up 1.25%, while copper is down a half. And the biggest surprise is palladium is up well over 2 percentage points. Ag is pretty much fully mixed today. Biggest loser looks to be chocolate, 2.8% to the downside. And the biggest winner is coffee, 1.73% in the green. Meanwhile, live cattle is down 1 1/3. Lean hogs are down well over 2%, and feeder cattle are down 1.77%. The legacy indices do not look like they are digesting the PPI numbers very well either. The Dow is down a half point. S&P is down 1/4, as is the NASDAQ, and the S&P Mini plumbing the depths of hell at 1.73% to the downside, fully in the red. And, oh, God, Jesus, $117,540 on the price of Bitcoin brings us all the way back down to a $2.34 trillion market cap, and Google's beating us again. We can only purchase 35.2 ounces of shiny metal rocks with our one Bitcoin, of which there are 19,906,175.07 of. And average fees per block remain low, 0.03 BTC taken in fees on a per block basis. There look to be about 20 blocks carrying 76,000 unconfirmed transactions waiting to clear at 4 Satoshis per VByte, and low priorities will get you in at 1 Satoshi per VByte. Meanwhile, mining is back up to 916 exahashes per second, and you can do with that what you will. From Cathedral to clocks, calendars, and computers, it was yesterday's episode of BitcoinAnd. I got Psyduck with 745 says, Psyduck? He's got a little question mark there. Aaron Joel with 172 says, I think the book Tree Crops is available free at Project Gutenberg. At least I think that's where I downloaded a copy. And the Gutenberg project can be found at gutenberg.org, not com, not gov, not whatever, org, O-R-G, gutenberg.org. It's got a bunch of free books. I haven't actually been over there in a while. And if you can get Tree Crops from J. Russell Smith, if you're interested in trees, like at all, dude, that's the book. That and a book called Trees of Power. It's good, but it's not as good as J. Russell Smith's book. Smith's book, I've read that thing at least twice, and I'm going to end up having to read it again. It's fascinating. It's a snapshot into the mindset of somebody writing in, I think it was 1930. Well, let's see. Hold on for a second. I might be able to find out. Let's see. Tree Crops. Oh God, it doesn't give me the book. Hold on. Because it's kind of important. Let's see. What is it? 1929. 1929, man. This is an old book. And the way when you read somebody who's writing from that far back in history, you get a different sense of mentality, you get a different sense of tone, you get a different sense of possibility. And that's sort of one of the reasons why I'm just doing the Cathedral project, even though it's just it's, at this point it's mental gymnastics. I admit it. I don't have the money to buy 1,000 acres, and probably neither do any of my listeners. Still, if you read tree crops, you start to understand what, in a way, attitudes that we've forgotten. It's not just that we forgot what trees can do for us, what kinds of tree crops there are and what they can be utilized to do, in which case, if you don't know any of that, go read J. Russell Smith's Tree Crops. It will blow your freaking mind. God knows it blew mine, but it's a different attitude. It's a different way of looking at things. We're like the meme with the two guys on the bus and one's looking out in sunlight and the other one's looking at the rock wall and it's all dark. That's us. We're not the... J. Russell Smith is the dude that's sitting on the side of the bus looking out across the landscape with bright sunshine bathing it. That ain't us. We're the other dude. And we've been forced into that position by media in collusion with governmental sources and all that kind of stuff. They've jacked our mentality up for a reason. Anyway, let's see. Turkey with 500 says nothing as usual. Progressively worse. Hits me twice with 1,000 sats. And he says, and this is interesting, hogs can be pretty savage from time to time. Less so when they are not in confinement, I'd imagine. I look after plus or minus 17,000 per day. Okay, so progressively worse is coming with some serious credentials. Looking after 17,000 hogs. For those of you who don't know, hogs will eat your ass. You get them in a group and you get them tightly packed, like, and my wife experienced this. She didn't see anybody get eaten, but she realized just how brutal these animals can be if you're not very, very careful around them. So she's at a hog farm, but it's inside. So it's a confined animal feeding operation that's housed. It's not outside. It doesn't really matter if it's inside or outside because the way they've got these animals pinned in, they're very, very close quarters. And you got to get in there and do things like take fecal samples or whatever it is that you're going to do. Now, that's probably not done this way anymore, but back in the day when she was an undergrad in college and she was kind of, doing some work with the agricultural school, that's what they did. They climbed into the pens with the hogs. She got bumped by one of the hogs, lost her balance and fell on the floor. And she realized very quickly that all the hogs were not the precious little piglet animals that you see in cartoons. No. They were coming to eat her ass. And if she had stayed on the floor any longer, they would have started doing real damage. Hogs are not to be toyed with. They're one of the most brutal animals that you can come up with. Their snouts they're shovels. They shove their face into dirt. This is not something that you really want to be messing with. So he goes on. Progressively worse says, on the other hand, they can be quite useful by digging up some of the truffles associated with the ectomycorrhizal inoculation done with the trees. That would add another layer to their finishing diets. The truffles would also offer another product to market and or personal consumption. The concept for a U-pick would not only reduce cost and labor for harvesting the berries, but also spark some natural curiosity into the system itself once people see it in action. The depth of layers in this system are incredible. Keep up the solid work. Thank you, Progressively Worse. That makes me feel good because here's the deal. I can go over to like a subreddit and let's see. I dumped something over in the permaculture subreddit and just got just got torched. Oh, you're stupid. Oh, and that's the thing. It's like one of the very first things when I wasn't even dumping the Cathedral project on them. I was just telling them about the Comfrey users manual that I have on my website, and I said, hey, here's the link, here's the stuff, and the first comment was, okay, well, I see what you're doing here, and I guess it looks pretty good, but you forgot to give us your credentials. I'm like, what? My credentials for what? What, like a Reddit license? What credentials are? This is the kind of thing that causes people to be very, very tight-lipped about any kind of wild-ass idea that they have, and those ideas will die with them. And I'm not trying to say that I'm brave because I'm putting this out here. No, this is a survival mechanic for me. If I do not, it's like Forest Walker. If I don't get it out of my head, it's going to drive me insane because I cannot stop thinking about this system. I can't. I don't know how it came into my head, and I don't care. All I know is that if I don't get it out of my head, I run a real risk of permanent mental damage. Now, that may be hyperbole. I don't know, but it feels that way because I can't stop thinking about it. And if I can't stop thinking about one thing, then I can't think about other things. So it's got to get out of my head. However, when you do that, you run, like I'm running the risk of every single permaculturist or silvopasturist or rancher or grazer or tree cropper, I'm going to piss them all off. Because the first thing they're going to do is, how many pecan groves have you tended? And I'm going to say 0. How many cattle have you grazed? 0. How many hedgerows have you laid? 0. You see how this works? You get, for some reason, you're selected by the universe to hold some kind of idea that is really would be better by, in the head of somebody who was, had several pecan groves and knows how that shit works. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it does take a complete set of fresh eyes to completely take a new look at a system. But every single one of these people, the minute I open my mouth, are going to shut me down. And that's okay. I'm not worried about that. It's just what I worry about is that this kind of effect is a squelching effect on human imagination. Because if I'm just like, I'm at a point where if I don't get it out of my head, this is an emergency for me. If I don't get it out of my head, it's going to do real damage. So therefore, I don't give a shit what people say. I don't care if they bring up the fact that I have no credentials. I could care less about the fact that they will say, you don't have any experience in any of this. How dare you even speak of this? Yes, there are many, many people out there that do that. But what about the other people? What was your idea that you don't really want to talk about because you don't have experience and you don't have the street cred or whatever. So therefore you don't talk about the idea. You don't ask anybody, what do you think? And that idea just either dims until it finally dies and the light goes out of your head, or it dies with you. Maybe it's active all the way up until the day you die. Maybe it's a little light bulb in the back of your mind that says, remember when you thought about this? And you haven't really told anybody this, and you're 1 foot in the grave, and it's odd. It's an odd feeling, but I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about Cathedral. Just like I got a lot of positive feedback about Forest Walker, which is every bit as insane. But I'm really happy that Progressively Worse thinks that this is a good idea. It's not a validation as much as maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe I'm not a full-blown psycho. Maybe something like this actually does work. But this system all boils down to management. That's the largest piece of the puzzle. It's not the trees. It's not where's the water going to come from. It's not how are you going to cycle the for rejuvenation on the black walnuts, and chop some down and plant new ones. It's like all that that's just surface shit. How are you going to manage the hogs? How are you going to manage the cattle? How are you going to drag chickens behind the cattle 3 days so that they eat all the fly larvae? All of that, this is just standard shit. Whether I have experience in it or not. What makes or break all of that, how's it managed? And that's when I actually look, and I really think this idea for Cathedral solidified in my head after reading Alan Savory's Holistic Management and understanding how Joel Salatin handles different quote-unquote fiefdoms on his farm. It's all about management. And I don't actually think that this system is going to take, 500 people to run. I really don't. I think this is a management question. I think it is a management problem. And that's where I get really excited about Cathedral, is how is it managed? What's the standard operating procedures? Those are the things that for some reason really, really light my candle. But we've got other fish to fry. Let's do part 2. Welcome to part 2 of the news that you can use. And first up is Turkey's oldest crypto exchange, BTC Turk, has halted deposits and withdrawals after a $48 million unusual flow. Yeah, this is the block, and Naga Avan Namayo is writing it. Cryptocurrency exchange BTC Turk, Turkey's oldest crypto exchange, has temporarily suspended deposits and withdrawals using cryptocurrencies after blockchain security firm Sivers flagged roughly $48 million of suspicious multi-chain transfers tied to the platform on Thursday. Sivers said that its monitoring systems detected swift movements across Ethereum, Avalanche, Arbitrum, I never can pronounce that, Base, Optimism, Mantle, and Polygon. Most of the funds were consolidated into 2 addresses, and the attacker began to swap assets, the company said. In a notice posted on X, BTC Turk users told users that crypto deposits and withdrawals were disabled until further notice due to a technical problem affecting hot wallets. The platform said that it would inform customers when services resume. That said, trading and deposits using the Turkish lira are reportedly uninterrupted, according to the statement. Thursday's incident follows a June 2024 breach in which BTC Turk reported unauthorized withdrawals from some hot wallets. Binance said it froze more than $5.3 million linked to the event at the time while assisting in the investigation. So if you're using BTC Turk, you're down. It seems to be an attack. Gut feeling, not a rug pull. We'll have to see. Then we go to Kazakhstan, who's launched Central Asia's very first and right now only spot Bitcoin ETF. This is out of Atlas 21, by the way. Astana-based asset management company Fonte Capital has officially launched its spot Bitcoin ETF, the first in Central Asia. The fund, named Fonte or Font, F-O-N-T-E, Font Bitcoin Exchange Traded Fund, OEIC, started operations August 13th on the Astana International Exchange under the ticker BETF. The product is a U.S. dollar-denominated investment vehicle designed to closely track the price of Bitcoin. The fund structure assigns custody to BitGo Trust, a U.S.-regulated company, while oversight is provided by the Astana International Financial Center. The Astana International Financial Center has developed a dedicated legal framework for digital assets, enabling the operation of licensed exchanges, custody services, and investment products within its jurisdiction. Supporters of the initiative argue that this regulatory framework can provide protection from international asset seizures under sanctions while reducing reliance on foreign issuers. Last April, the Prime Minister Olzas Bektinov stated that Kazakhstan was working on legislative amendments to liberalize the circulation of digital assets and expand platforms for cryptocurrency-related activities. The introduction of the region's first spot Bitcoin ETF positions Kazakhstan alongside other leading global jurisdictions such as the United States and Hong Kong which have already approved equivalent financial products. Kazakhstan is also planning the launch of Crypto City, a pilot zone where digital assets can be used for the payments of goods and services. Oh, gee, Mr. Government, may I please pull down my pants and use the bathroom? Can I raise my hand to ask a question? It's just, like I said, it doesn't matter what jurisdiction you're in. It's this psychotic need for control that damages the minds of citizenry. We don't even know we're being damaged, but we're being brain damaged over here, man. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like I said, Australia, US, China, Kazakhstan, they all suck. Anyway, Wisconsin sucks the worst because their bill is pushing KYC and licensing for Bitcoin ATMs. This is Alex Larry writing for Bitcoin News. Wisconsin lawmakers are moving in tandem to regulate Bitcoin ATMs with two identical bills filed in the Senate and Assembly to combat the growing number of scams linked to the machines. The bills are looking to implement strict know your customer information for Bitcoin ATM users, as well as further licensing requirements for the operators. Senate Bill 386, sponsored by Senator Kelda Roys and 6 Democrats, mirrors Assembly Bill 384, introduced last month by Representative Ryan Spaulding and 10 co-sponsors. The bills will speed up the process by moving through both chambers at the same time. Oh, they're being efficient. The measures target the state's 582 Bitcoin ATMs. That's a lot, by the way, often found in gas stations, grocery stores, and convenience stores. Lawmakers say these machines have become a tool for fraudsters, especially targeting senior citizens. I call bullshit. I don't know how many grandmas and grandpas do you see waddling up to a freaking BTC ATM? None. This is like, dude, we got to protect the children. We've done that to death. Do we got something else? Old folks? Yeah, let's go with it. Anyway, the push comes after FinCEN data showed a 99% increase in Bitcoin kiosk related fraud complaints in 2024. Reported losses also rose 31% to nearly $247 million. Jesus, take a bite out of crime, people. Supporters of the bill say that the largely unregulated nature of these kiosks makes them a soft target for scammers who often impersonate loved ones, charities, or government officials to trick people into sending them Bitcoin. Senator Roys said without the safeguards, these machines have become hotbeds for serious crime. She said, while new technology is exciting, it can also invite scams or fraud. New technology. Let's link it to scams and fraud and criminality. Let's do that. This is another way that the mental state of citizenries around the world are damaged. I'm just saying. Under the proposed legislation, all Bitcoin ATM operators in the state of Wisconsin would have to get a state money transmitter license. Good luck. If you're just Joe Blow on the street with 3 Bitcoin ATMs that you've bought and finagled their way into gas stations, you're not going to be given a money transmitter license. You can go apply. You can put in the paperwork, but you're not getting this. This is regulatory moding, and everybody knows it. Anyway, whatever. First-time users would have to provide their full name, date of birth, home address, phone number, email, and the government-issued photo ID. Operators would also have to take a photo of the customer at the machine. Daily limits would be $1,000 per customer, and operator fees would be limited to the greater of $5 or 3% of the transaction amount, whichever comes first, or whichever is higher, rather. The bills also require each kiosk to display a bold, visible fraud alert on the machine and on the transaction screen. The warning would have to describe common scam tactics and be acknowledged by the user before continuing on. Under the bill, operators would have to refund customers for fraudulent transactions if notified by law enforcement within 30 days. So I'm dumb enough to come up to an ATM machine, get scammed, and it's the owner of the machine that's at fault and has to pay me back. Again, brain damage alert. In fact, government should also come with a brain damage alert. Like literally, if a senator comes on CNBC to talk about anything, there should be a tag up in the right-hand side that says, your brain may be being damaged right now. Freaks. Let's see. Under the bill, operators would have to refund the customer of fraudulent transactions within 30 days, blah, blah, blah. Sergeant Scott Goldberg of Woods County Sheriff's Department said that the goal is to protect people from losing large amounts of money. No shit, dude. He said victims have lost $2,000 to $60,000 at one time, and rural counties like his see far fewer cases than urban areas. What does that tell you? Maybe the country folk are a little bit more aware of their shit, eh? Well, backers of the bill say tighter rules would build public trust in Bitcoin. Bullshit. Really? Backers of the bill say that the tighter rules will build public trust in Bitcoin. This is the we're protecting Bitcoin wrapper. So they've exhausted kids, they've done old folks, and they've done human sex trafficking. So we've got a new wrapper. It's going to protect Bitcoin. Yeah, right. Critics, however, say eliminating anonymity undermines one of the original appeals of the scarce digital asset. Both SB 386 and AB 384 are before the Committee on Financial Institutions in their respective chambers, and if passed, the identification and fraud warning requirements will take effect 60 days after the bill becomes law. So watch out. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. They're coming for us. They're coming for us all. But not before Jeff Bezos takes a cut. Because Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin is now accepting Bitcoin for space flights. It was just freaking stupid. No, whatever. Blue Origin, the private spaceflight company founded by Amazon billionaire Jeff Bezos, is now letting customers pay for trips to space using Bitcoin. Through a partnership with payment processor Shift4, which I've never heard about before, Blue Origin's customers can now use Bitcoin and shitcoins like shitcoin number 1 and number 2. And then there's stable coins that they will let you use like Tether and USDC to book seats on its new Shepard suborbital spacecraft. Quote, crypto is a $4 trillion asset class and the sky is the limit when it comes to its potential in the current payments ecosystem, said Alex Wilson, head of digital assets at Shift4. Quote, we believe crypto and stablecoins are going to become an increasingly popular way for consumers to pay, particularly for high-end purchases. Customers can connect popular digital wallets like Coinbase and MetaMask to pay directly for flights. Oh my God. Yeah, whatever, dude. This isn't, I don't even count this as a good publicity stunt. It's just a bunch of fluff out of Bezos, whatever. And then we have the problem of the week. Fake law firms are targeting crypto scam victims, according to the FBI. Connor Sefton Decrypt. Crypto scammers are masquerading as legal firms to deceive vulnerable people out of their savings, according to the FBI, and even targeting consumers who have already fallen victim to fraudsters before. In a new FBI advisory, it set out red flags that the public should be aware of, including lawyers who claim to be affiliated with governments and regulators. Some also claim to partner with organizations that don't even exist. Cybercriminals may request payment in the form of crypto or gift cards for their so-called services, even though a legitimate organization would never do so. The FBI noted that scammers often win the trust of victims because they have knowledge of the exact amount of funds they've lost in the past and when the wire transfers were made. In some cases, victims are referred to a bogus crypto recovery law firm and told to open accounts with foreign banks, but the domain they're directed to is a phishing link designed to capture even more of their information. It's like adding insult to injury. But further warning signs include victims being told to pay bank fees to verify their identities. Scammers also have a reluctance to provide credentials to back up their claims and won't agree to video meetings. According to the FBI's advisory, the public should use a zero trust model and be wary of firms contacting them out of the blue, ask for photographic evidence of law licenses, and request proof of employment from anyone claiming to be a government employee. Meticulous records of interactions are also recommended. So if I were to take the FBI's advice, I would actually literally be telling every government official, I need your government ID. Maybe we should, just to cause some brain damage in the opposite direction. But contact with scammers impersonating law firms continues to pose many risks, including the theft of personal data and funds from unsuspecting victims to the reputational harm of actual lawyers being impersonated. The warning comes after a slew of high-profile bankruptcies left exchange customers waiting for years to be reunited with their funds. It's like my lost puppy dog, with opportunistic criminals pretending to be involved in official recovery efforts. Other crypto scams have leveraged the images of high-profile individuals such as Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak and Tesla founder Elon Musk, using either carefully chosen real footage or AI deepfake imagery to convince victims to part with their cryptocurrency. According to a recent report, deepfakes of celebrities, government officials, and other individuals accounted for 40% of the high-value crypto fraud in 2024. So just be aware. If you get contacted by a lawyer or somebody saying they're a government official, just hang up, I guess. I get shit all the time. I used to be my first Bitcoin buy was through Coinbase. So they had whatever KYC they were doing back in the day, which was honestly back then, it was pretty light touch. I don't ever remember actually ever giving them like a photograph of my ID, but that was 2015. We were all very, very young back then. So, but my address was in their files. My phone number was in their file. My email was in their file. So I literally at least once a month, I get not one, but probably two. Hey, your Coinbase account's been activated by somebody in Kyrgyzstan or something like that. Call this number. No, I'm not calling the Philippines to talk to somebody I don't know about personal financial information. It's just dumb. And this is the extent at which the brain damage has caused us to just, honestly, can it just be over? Whatever problem comes down the pipe, just think of it. Do you remember how you would approach a problem 20 years ago versus a problem now? I feel a major difference in my psychology when I approach problems now versus approaching problems 20 years ago. 20 years ago, whatever, we'll fix the problem. And now it's like, can it just be over? Can we just, anything, please, I'll do anything just to make this problem go away. That's brain damage. I'll admit it. I am brain damaged. I got Dane damage over here, man. I can't even think straight. And when any simple problem or medium problem or a highly complex problem comes down the pipe, I treat them all the same. It's like, I just want them to go away. I mean, I have to solve them, but it's like the way that I'm affected by a problem coming down the pipe now is different than it was 20 years ago. And I blame our government in collusion with media. It's just social media. No, it's not. It's not. That's part of it. That's an outlet. It's what's being consumed, like the dancing doctors and nurses during COVID. That wasn't a fad. That was orchestrated. It was the same dance. The whole thing is bizarre. Anyway, we're going over time. I'm going to go ahead and let you go, and I will see you on the other side. This has been BitcoinAnd, and I'm your host, David Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.